Hi, Bethany. I believe you're in mute.
Good morning, everyone. Let's start again. Good morning. My name is Bethany Menimbo, and I'm the Marketing and Outreach Manager in the Office of Procurement. Welcome to our April online open house. Thank you all for joining us today. Today, we will have Melissa Garner as our guest speaker. She is the Division Chief of Operations here in the Office of Procurement. Before we begin today, I just want to put a plug in for our upcoming event on May 9th. It's called Meet the Primes. It'll be held at the downtown Silver Spring Civic Building. It's on May 9th from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. I will put a link to the event in the chat box. And without further ado, I will introduce Melissa Garner, and she will show her presentation. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. Like Bethany said, thanks for being here. This month is operations chance to provide some insight to y'all on some upcoming opportunities for you. And then I'm also going to go through and touch on some of the vendor resources and stuff like that on our website. I know that we've had one previously about that, but just for the sake of if there are new people, I can run through a couple of things that not only will I be able to show you the opportunities and where you can find those listed that are coming up, but then how you can follow up on those after you may have submitted a bid or proposal, etc. So I'm going to share my screen, and we're essentially just going to be walking through our Office of Procurement's website, because this is how you're going to access the information. And if Bethany, can you give me a thumbs up that y'all see my screen?
Thumbs up. Yes, we see it. Thank you.
Cool. All right. So like I said, the opportunities that I want to show y'all is where we have listed the things that are coming up. There's a certain section where it shows exactly what's out there now. There's a section that shows what recently closed and who the proposed awardees are. And then there's a section that shows what's projected for the future. So we'll start with that. This is our main website. Where you can go to get to that projections page is you would go to Solicitations and Contracts. And then you would be going to Formal Solicitations. And that's where you're going to be able to find this right here, Solicitation Projections. So to explain where we got to at this point, this is your listing of what's out there now. When you go to the Formal Solicitations tab, it'll take you to this page where anything that's out there right now, what the status is, how many, solicitation amendments have been done, etc. It's all right here. It'll tell you when stuff closes, what it is. You can click on the blue link or the view scope, and it'll give you a little like blurb about what it is, so you can determine if it's something you're interested in or not. But that's where you're going, what you're going to see first. But if you go up here into this solicitations projection, if you click on that, this gives you a rundown. It's the how do I use this, but I'll just walk through the general steps so you can understand like the purpose behind how we have it set up. But what this is essentially our office, when we receive solicitations from departments, we start a tracking process basically. And when we do that, we establish some timelines, but ultimately we have a general understanding of what our goal is to get something out. Like if we receive something at the end of last year, we look at our schedule and our time frame, and then we can give a general estimated time as to when everybody should be seeing that out on the street, basically. So this tells you how to use the projections page, but I'll just show you the general information that's provided to you. So if you look at this one, for instance, Department of Emergency Management and Homeland Security. So they sent us a package. We created the solicitation number for them. And so we know that this is in the process. The fact that we have the information up there for the LSBRP, LBPP, and everything like that shows that it's in the works. We're just not at a point yet to post it. But based on where we're at, we anticipate that this should be out this spring. Some of them will come with, like, we'd be able to list some of the commodity codes. So that's what you'll see on the very end of this. But otherwise, the information that's captured is the department, what it is, what type of solicitation it is. And just to back up a step, please understand that this projection is for formal solicitations only. So you're only going to see IFBs and RFPs in this. But you've got the solicitation number, the description, the notification as to whether it's LSBRP, reserved for LSBRP, or if there's an LBPP requirement in it, the type of solicitation that it's going to be, and then for the MFD goals, you'll see what that percentage is that's already been established by our DBRC group. So this can at least just give you a heads up of, okay, well, if I want to do business with Montgomery County, say I already have all these other contracts going on, when will there be an opportunity? And two, should I try to think about that with the resources I have, or whatever? This just gives you a heads up that you can kind of have that in the back of your mind and be able to, jump in and see what the process is, or what the status is, I should say. Now, total honesty, just because we have this estimated date does not mean it is actually going to be done then. We have workload coming in every day, whether it's for existing ones, new ones, etc. So we try to keep up with that, but I can say that I'm getting more confident about our estimates on this because we now have a full complement of staff in our operations group. So things are moving a little bit smoother and more efficiently. So the other thing that I can point out about this is if you went down this list, you'll see a lot of them that say spring 2023. Again, these are estimates. We have a lot of spring 2023 because at year end for the county, the Office of Procurement provides a date deadline for different types of solicitations. And so basically in February, we have a requirement that the departments get us IFBs and RFPs by a certain deadline date if it's something that they need to have met for FY23. So essentially, like, our office gets bombarded with a ton of solicitations. And so the process starts, we get them into the tracker. And so there are a lot that are going to be like, yeah, we should be able to have them out in the spring, but there is a heavy workload. So we do our best to make sure we crank through them. So that's why you'll see a lot of spring stuff in here. But as you see, there are also some that, we've already looked at it and we know that it's not going to be until the summer, or maybe we just recently got it, so it won't be till winter. So just be aware of that. If you see a lot that always land in the spring, it's because that is actually our season, so to speak, to get slammed with all of these things coming into our office. But anyhow, so this just gives you the general overview that you can do for seeing what's upcoming. If you look at the search criteria, if you don't feel like going through the whole list, like, we provide this specific option to you of being able to break it down into smaller groupings, whether it's department, or if it's if it's LSBRP. If LSBRP applies to it, then, and you're a local small business, then you're like, hey, those are the ones I want to focus on, right? Because if that's the one that I have a better opportunity on because it's reserved for my group, then let me see what's out there. And then the LBPP also. But this allows you to, hone in on the things that you think you might have. Because if you look at this, you used to have Department of Corrections, emergency, you'll have HHS in here, finance, it's kind of all over the board. But if your work is going to typically be with emergency services, well, then you can go down here and these are all the ones that would be listed. Okay, emergency management, cool. All right, awesome. There's the one that I should focus on. If your company provides many services, then use these search options to your heart's content. But we at least try to provide this to you so that you can hone in on the stuff, because at any given time there can be a large amount that are out there for upcoming solicitations, and then there can only be a few. But at least this gives you that chance to to narrow it down instead of having to go through each one and try to track down what actually works for you. But so again, so that's the department. If I just go back to all departments, you can, if you typically do IFBs and that's all you want to work with, or that's what your company typically serves through in contracts is IFBs, you can sort it that way. Again, local small business, yes or no. These are all the tabs that are just at the top of the listings. LSBRP, what category is it? Goods, construction, etc. So I highly recommend coming to this page, reading through it. I like I said, I gave you a very global understanding of it, but the more detailed stuff just really comes in when because you know your company, you know what you can do, and then that way you can hone in on those search options to get where you need. There are a couple things on this page though that, if you're here, I'm assuming maybe you are already a vendor registered with the county, but we do have some links in here that can get you to some other places. And if you haven't registered your business, obviously that's a huge step that we need to make sure you do. So if you come to this page, here's a thing where you can go and enter your information. It'll take you to CVRS, and that's where you need to register. Like I mentioned before, we have contracts that are already in place. We have the active solicitation listings, which again was on the previous page, but there are embedded links across all of our pages to try to make sure you have that access to any of the parts that you need to see or could be beneficial to you. So that's pretty much it with projections. That was the main thing. And I mean, this was really fast because again, it's a very, broad overview of what's coming up. That was the main goal of making sure for today that y'all understood that this existed and where you can find it. So what I'll do right now is, because that was the focus, I want to take a second to stop. And Bethany, if I'm okay, let's go ahead and take any questions regarding the projection page. And then with the remaining time, I can, like I said, go and touch on some of the other pages that are beneficial to the vendors and where you can find resources and stuff. But I want to make sure we cover everybody's questions for this.
Sounds great.
So if anybody has any questions, you can drop them in the chat, or if you want to, I don't know if there's even raise hand on Zoom, but just unmute yourself and we're happy to take your questions. All right. I did an awesome job explaining that. No, I'm kidding. So we'll move on. I'll go ahead and give y'all some other rundown of the other tools that are at your disposal to be able to maneuver through some of the stuff that you have to do for being able to do business with us. So I'm going to go back to our homepage. There are the main spots for you when it comes to where can I find out what's out there now, what exists, etc., is the solicitations and contracts page. So when you click on that, you'll see that it gives you a rundown of the different options of what's out there right now, but also the bid tabulations for what's already closed, proposed awardees based on, the department has finished their review, and that's when we put the proposed awardees up. There's 10 days that it has to be advertised, to finish out the execution phase. And then there's a contract search where you're able to pull some stuff up. So going back to this formal solicitations page, like I mentioned, this is everything that's out there right now. Note that the bid opening or closing, the RFP closing listed is over on the right-hand side. And like I said, for the scope, like instead of having to go and download the whole thing, especially since we're in BidNet right now, if you don't want to go through that process, then you can click on scope. And this is a snippet that just takes the main part of what this solicitation is for, and it provides it to you here. So you can just run through that and be like, that's not me, I'll move on. But you'll see here also that it notes what's on BidNet, which essentially everything that we're doing right now for formal solicitations, so IFB, RFP, is going on BidNet. But we also note that there are amendments that have been done for any of them that have had some issued. So you'll see that here, but also just so you know, if you have downloaded a package from BidNet on something that you're interested in, as long as you register, as long as you're registered in BidNet properly and you give up-to-date contact information, then if you download something, if a solicitation goes out for that specific, if a solicitation amendment goes out for that specific solicitation, you'll be notified. So that is something with BidNet that we're able to have that automatic ability where it will notify you that an amendment has been processed. But again, this is on our website, just so you have a reference point of what's out there and what has already had an amendment, because obviously you need to be able to acknowledge the amendments if they have been issued. I want to see.
It looks like we have a question in the chat box.
Okay, go ahead.
I would like to ask about the informal list. I found something on there that was great for my company. What is the difference between formal and informal, and can I respond to the informal one?
Oh, okay. Yeah, so just to point the break, where the break point is on our website for that is at the solicitation and contracts. There's the formal solicitations, takes you to IFB, RFP. Then there's the informal and opens, which the difference between all of them, there are a couple of different things. One, there is a monetary factor to it. Informals are 10,000, or for the value of the contract is between $10,000 and $100,000. So that's for what we call mini contracts and kind of like mini IFBs or even mini RFPs. And it's that threshold but with that threshold, the informals are typically done more in the department's world. It's not something that is fully processed in our office, but we do post it for the departments because it's that smaller dollar figure. They have a little bit more oversight in the sense of the actual steps within the process. So what it is for an informal that is different from a formal one is also the fact that for formals, the typical time frame that we recommend to departments to have it posted is 30 days, because when you get into that 100,000 or more, you're looking at probably more of an extensive scope. We need to give people time to make sure they're able to get the solicitation, absorb it, go through the pre-bid or pre-submission conference, ask the questions, etc. So formals, we go the longer time frame. Typically, like I said, a minimum of 30 days is what we do. For RFPs that are more complicated, there could be some that are out there for 60 days. But then on the informal side, what happens is the departments, once they get their package squared away and they provide the Office of Procurement a link or wherever it is they want the vendor to go to in order to download or receive a copy of the solicitation. Once we get that on our website, then per the regulations, the requirement is that it's posted at a minimum of 5 days. So it's a much shorter time frame. Again, it's a lesser dollar value. You're probably looking at a smaller scope of things. So that's why there's a little bit more leeway on that, and it reduces the time some. But again, that's just a minimum. Some departments may choose to have it posted out there longer, but per regulations, it's a minimum of 5 days. Sorry. So if we click on here, and you'll see here are informal solicitations list. Like I said, we post it, but there's nothing that the Office of Procurement, technically does in the ongoing process prior to execution. The department develops it. They make sure that all the terms and conditions and everything like that would be in any formal solicitation is all included, but they put their scope in, and then they provide us a link or a contact to where the vendor has to go to download it. So for this one, let's see, it is police shoe repair services. Click here to download the informal solicitation. So if I click there, this takes you, it's another link that takes you to that solicitation that you now have access to it just as a PDF. So you can download this, and that's where you get, like, that's how you start your review, right? You get a copy of this. Sometimes there are departments that instead of just having a link to post the actual solicitation, they may say, contact this person. And, sometimes that's more on the sense of, they want to understand who it is that's asking for stuff and make sure that they get all the right information to them. So you may see, those two different approaches, something that just takes you to the document itself, something that asks you to contact someone, and then that person would be responsible for making sure you receive that solicitation. I want to stop and make sure that answered your questions and that I covered it. Is there anything further that you would want on that clarification? And I imagine there are more questions, so we can stop and do more questions too. You're on mute.
Yes, there are a few more questions. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
And she said, thank you. That answers her question.
Awesome.
So the next question, we have about 2 or 3 more questions in the chat box.
Okay.
So the next question, are LCATS 3 and MCATS 3 solicitations listed under the Open Solicitations tab?
That one, I mean, I might have to lean on Sharonda, maybe, if you know this. I think that's still formal ones, right?
That's a formal,
That's
yeah.
formal.
So can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's a formal solicitation. An open solicitation is a different solicitation type. The MCATs and LCATs will result from an RFP, so they're not going to be listed there. You'll see the status of those solicitations through the solicitation tracker, but open is for a solicitation that does not have a closing date. So like our recreation services or things where we have an ongoing need for a particular service that we can create a contract from that. So that's, it might be a little confusing with the open name, but that's just what that means.
Yeah, thank you. I just wanted to make sure that I told you the right thing. I thought it was a formal, but I did not want to screw that one up. But for the opens, like she mentioned, that's literally it works the way the title is. It's open. So if we want services for shoe repair and it's something that we just want to get as many people on board who are willing to do the work, then it will remain posted on that website, or on the department's website is usually where they hold them, but we list them. There's links to them. So oral health services, click on that, it takes you to this. And then, like I said, a lot of times it goes to the department's website. So you see the scope, you can click here and it takes you, and here's their whole list of open solicitations, which HHS by far typically has the most opens. But essentially what an open solicitation is the department determines the scope that they need for that. And they also have predetermined prices already set in there. And it's essentially like, hey, if you're willing to take this solicitation and do the scope and do it at these prices, then let's get you on board. If there's ever a point where a department says, okay, I have enough and I don't need any more, then we just take it off the website. Then will then close, come off the website. They have the resources they need. And then if they have another, another need for it later down the road, then we can repost another one. But yeah, the title of it is very clear to, it sits up there until it's no longer needed.
Thank you. And we have the next question is, I was looking up contracts that had been previously awarded in my area of focus, and I could find the contract name, number, and awardee, but none of the contracts have been uploaded. Are there plans to upload existing or prior contracts?
Sharonda, I will toss this one to you too.
Sure. So out of the 2,200, 2,600 contracts the county has, there's only a very small subset of contracts that we immediately release for the public, and those are the results of IFBs. There may be a few IFBs where there's proprietary information, and that's why we lock it down, because if it's an RFP or a bridge or non-competitive, there could be information that we are not able to disclose. So we have to lock those down. If there's a contract that you're interested in, we recommend that you submit a request to our MPIA group, and I will put in chat the email address. It's poundpro.mpia. Actually, I'm the person that responds to them, but that it's a process that we follow because we have to submit it to the vendor to review it to make sure that there is no confidential information as identified through the Maryland Public Information Act. And then we also have to vet that through our county attorney. So we don't immediately release our contract and contract documents, but you can request that information, and we have up to 30 days to provide a response. So I'll put that in the chat, and you can reach out to us for a copy of the documents that you are interested in receiving.
Thank you.
And there was another question in the chat that was answered by Sharonda, but I just wanted to read it to everyone. So somebody asked, are BidNet services free? And Sharonda responded that downloading and responding to Montgomery County solicitations through BidNet is free. Please note that when registering, select the limited option and continue with the next steps. And Sharonda posted a detailed response in the chat box for everyone to read. So I just wanted to make sure that everybody knew that responding to BidNet solicitations are free. Okay, so we have another question in the chat box here. Let's see. No, they're just comments. Okay. And continue to post your questions in the chat box, or feel free to unmute yourselves. Thank you.
All right. So I'll keep moving through some of these resources for you. Thank you for the question about the informal. So that took us in that direction. We ran through that. There's a listing of the informals that are out there right now. Again, they do have closing dates. It just may be a shorter time frame than what you usually see on the informals. Then there's open solicitations, and like we mentioned, these will be up here until the department no longer needs to get more resources for them. So it may be they're looking for 30 vendors, or they're just looking for somebody who can, like, enough that they can get an X number of, X quantity of something they need, and then they're done. So always, run through this every now and then, because there could be something new up there. This is all available to you straight from our webpage. Bid tabulations. This is what I was mentioning, where stuff that's closed recently, it will be posted up here. So if you had submitted something for something that closed and you weren't able to be there for the bid opening and you just want to know what the outcome was, you can come here. It'll be posted on there, and you'll be able to get the information as to what the outcome was, or what was going on with that one, and the bid tab details.
We have another question.
Okay, go ahead.
I just checked the projections tab for professional services for the Department of Transportation. Only one forecast is shown. However, we know that another project is also forecast to be released in the summer of this year. That one does not use 100% county funded, as it has federal participation. Is that the reason it is not listed in the forecast?
No, because as long as it's something, regardless of the funding for it, whether it's operating, CIP, grant funded, anything, as long as it's something that's required to go through Montgomery County's procurement process, it can be posted and on our website. The reason for it not being up there right now, I don't know what the exact status is of that, whether, the department and our procurement specialists may still be in like the draft phase of it. So it's not really, it doesn't really have an established timeline yet. So we're not really sure when that will be. If you have communication with the department, obviously they're going to have a better understanding on what they see potentially happening, being able to close it out, get it over and stuff like that. So yes, there's always a possibility that things that are going on in the background aren't necessarily posted, more for the fact of everything's in different stages. There's a lot of work that goes on between the Office of Procurement and departments before we even get to like the final submission package from the department for us to establish a timeline. So not knowing exactly what the one is you're talking about, it could be that it's still in those initial phases and maybe they're about to send it over to us. I'm not sure, but yeah, I cannot tell you that everything that's coming up is going to be on that projections, because it just depends on where all of these different things that are in the background going on are in the status of it, like what stage they're in on that.
Okay, thank you. Let's see what else we have in the chat box. Okay, we have a question. The RFP for childcare FY24 has not been posted yet. Any updates on this? Oh, for various elementary schools and MCPS.
I don't know what the specifics are with that one. I don't know if it's like in our office or not. So again, it's just a matter of, these are projections. Once it is all finalized and good to go and to be able to advertise, then you'll go and see it on the formal solicitations page. But I don't know this, like right now, the specifics of anything for any particular one.
And just to note, we are Montgomery County government. So Montgomery County Public Schools, Montgomery College, they have their own procurement offices. So any solicitations that are from MCPS or Montgomery College, we don't have any jurisdiction over. So they have their own procurement office. I can post the procurement contact information for those jurisdictions or for those agencies in the chat box.
Yeah, so just to tag on to that, like our procurement postings and all do not cross over each other. They are totally separate.
I have a question.
Okay.
Yeah, I applied for local certification, but I have not got any response yet. How long will it take for that to be approved?
You mean the local small business reserve program?
Yes.
Okay. So the person the program manager is Michael Brown. I can put his contact information in the chat box. He's the one who manages that program. I don't know how long it takes exactly, but he should be able to get back to you very soon.
He is off this week, or he's coming back tomorrow, I think.
Right.
So just be aware that if you sent him anything, he will get back to you once he's back from vacation.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, I have a question.
Okay.
I have a question, and I was asking about the other agencies posting. So if they're posting Montgomery County government RFP in the other agency, do you post anything to say that there's an RFP that's going out, but it's being hosted by school system, like the consulting for health and welfare services?
No, we will only post on our website anything that is directly related to Montgomery County, like the stuff that's just for the Montgomery County departments. Montgomery County Public Schools, they have their own procurement office, staff, etc. So anything that they're putting out would just be on their website. And Sharonda, I don't know if you know whether or not they use Emma or not, but their stuff would not be posted on ours. Maybe they have it posted on the Maryland group. Sharonda,
Yeah.
do you know?
So
So
it's for you. It's for you. It's from one of the. There are 5 agencies, and they posted the RFP. So I was looking in your website to see if it's posted the government. So the RFP also includes the government. So that's why I was asking, do you, like if I was looking at the government to see if you have posted, and it's not posted in the government, but I know your RFP is going out. That's why I was asking.
you're saying our RFP was posted on their website to link to our website? Is that the question? Is that?
Yeah, so I was asking, so it says the Montgomery County Agencies MCA. So it's being, they're posting the RFP for school system, national park, government, college, and WSSC.
Are you
So
looking at
I was
CVRS?
looking at your website.
Are you looking at?
I was looking at the school system is the one posting it. So I wasn't sure if you correspond with them, because it's the government RFP. When we finish the RFP response, it's the government that reviews.
Yeah, if it's not something that we're processing, like we are owning, so to speak, as our contract, like what would be our contract, then I guess you can look at it as another hosting agency would have it posted on theirs. It wouldn't necessarily be posted on ours. I'm not familiar with this exact one, and maybe there's some communication between the department and them for this, if there is an expectation that Montgomery County government could potentially use it. So when it comes to details like that, unless it is something that we do, unless it's something we need to process in our procurement office, then we don't know the details of that. If it's something that a department anticipates utilizing another agency's contract, they can do that. We have processes for that where they can use it. But if it's not posted on ours, then I would say we're not the hosting person for something that may be for a group of people.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I have another question. My name is Mabel. I'm new. I've been in business with Montgomery County for since 2015, but I didn't know about the procurement contracts because I didn't know. I recently knew about it. I provide healthcare, and then I do transportation for people with disability and seniors. So how will I be able to apply for a contract as a prime contractor or even a subcontractor? Because I have to have somewhere to start. Who can I talk to?
So, sorry. So the main thing is for those services, it's usually with HHS or DOT. I can give you that general response of those are the two that my understanding or that I'm aware of typically handle those two things. But if you utilize our website, and then also when you register as a vendor, you're able to register with certain commodity codes. And every time a department sends our office a solicitation, they have to note what commodity codes it is. And whenever we go to post it, you are automatically pinged. If I'm just throwing out a number, I have no idea what this number is, but 912-85, like I have no idea if that's even something, but just using it as an example, if the commodity code that you signed up with in CVRS is 912-85, and a department sends a solicitation to us saying that this is with this commodity code, then when we post it, we'll shoot a blast to people who are registered under that commodity code. And you'll get, as long as your contact information in CVRS is updated and monitored, you'll get that notification that something's out there. Otherwise, it's just monitoring our website, because that's where we have a lot of the stuff posted. Like I said, you have the projections for stuff that's coming up. You have the specific breakdown of anything that's out there right now, whether it's formals or informals or opens. I mean, I think also in that transportation thing, I think there may be opens that HHS does. But that's your best opportunity. The other things just to keep in mind, and I think Bethany, I think you mentioned it at the beginning of this session, was we do have vendor events. So that's another time, like the event that's coming up is Meet the Primes, but we are going to have some department representatives there. So if you go to those and you know that you're going to deal with DOT a lot, then you may be able to communicate with DOT staff and just have a general conversation with them, or saying, I don't know exactly what departments are coming to that, but we have a mix of both vendors that are going to be there to talk to potential subs or whatever, and also departments to just talk to potential vendors.
Oh, thank you so much. Can you put that time and dates and time on the chat so I can have it? So
Yeah,
I'll definitely
yep.
yeah.
Yes.
Yes, that's good. Thank you.
Yes, I posted it a little bit earlier, but I can post it again.
Yeah, please.
And someone asked a question in the chat box of about the event, the Meet the Primes event, and asked if I can just say a few words about it. Is that okay, Melissa? Just
Absolutely.
since they asked about it, sure. So our Meet the Primes event is on Tuesday, May 9th at the Silver Spring Civic Building. And this is an expo style event. So that means all the primes will have a table, like an exhibitor table, and attendees are free to mingle with the primes, mingle with each other. It's a great networking opportunity. There is no formal agenda. This is strictly a networking event and a networking opportunity for the attendees. The prime contractors are contractors who have a current contract with Montgomery County government. We will also have some local procurement offices like Montgomery College, Montgomery County Public Schools, WSSC, City of Rockville. We will also have some local resources. So Maryland Women's Business Center, the Silver Spring Chamber of Commerce, the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce in Montgomery County, the Small Business Development Center in Montgomery County, the Small Business Navigators Office. There's a list on the event page of some exhibitor highlights. It doesn't include every exhibitor. We have about 50 exhibitors who are planning to attend, and they're just going to be listening. They're going to be listening to you and learning more about you. We ask that the attendees kind of plan to mingle with all of the exhibitors. So if you are an architecture firm, don't just go looking for architecture firms, go meet and mingle with everyone, because everyone has something valuable to share. There's a great networking opportunity with fellow attendees. The event is about 3 hours from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. And it's a very just kind of casual meet and mingle event. So there's no agenda or anything like that. So you don't need to bring a PowerPoint or a presentation or anything like that. Bring plenty of business cards, bring your best elevator pitch to share with everyone, and just meet and mingle and meet new people. So that's kind of the gist of the event. It's on May 9th. I posted the event information in the chat box, and I'll post it again just because it was a little earlier in the meeting. Did that answer your question or about the event?
Your location is Silver Spring Civic Building?
Yes.
Silver Spring Civic Building. Okay, thank you.
All right. And I'll post more information about it in the chat box. And let's see the next question we have in the chat box. My husband was working on a proposal in BidNet. The counter said that he had 10 minutes remaining, but when he tried to upload the last document, it would not take it. In fact, BidNot would not submit the other uploaded documents. How do you handle glitches like this or similar tech issues?
Sure. So Sharonda, you can probably jump in on part of this, but so what we do is we do work with BidNet. They capture all keystrokes and everything of what goes on with anybody in the system. And so with the fact that that is the way that we accept formal solicitations, having that ability to do an audit of all of those clicks, at what time it happened, what it was they were doing, what phase of the submission they were in, et cetera, we're able to go back to BidNet and work with them on the audit of all of those keystrokes to see if it was a glitch in the system or if maybe just time ran out or something along those lines. When it comes to stuff like that, I would highly recommend that everybody take into consideration the time that you need to allow yourself enough time to get through the process. Depending upon the type of solicitation it is, how many documents you may need to that may be required that you need to download or upload, all of that. Just take that into account. Don't wait till the last minute. BidNet does have there's a contact that you can call if you do feel like you're coming across a glitch and there's an issue. They're available to assist with any of those technical issues. But if it's a matter of the submission not being met at the time of the expiration, we do go back and do an audit with them to see what the circumstances are. And if it ultimately comes out that it wasn't a glitch in the system, but ultimately there just wasn't enough time left to get through all of the different steps, then unfortunately, just think of it, take out the technical side of it. Think about it as giving yourself enough time that in the past, we always required submissions to be in the office, delivered in the office by 11 a.m. for whatever. Think of it as you need to give yourself enough time to find parking and get to the office before 11 a.m. But if you don't allow yourself that amount of time and you get there at 11:01, even though you had trouble finding parking, that's not the regulations literally hold us to the fact that we cannot accept things afterwards. So that's something just to keep in mind. Don't wait till the last minute. Make sure you get your stuff in there so that if you do run across issues, you're able to work with BidNet to make sure it's all squared away. But yes, we do have auditing ability to go back and look at keystrokes and exactly what was going on in the technical sense. But with that, I will also let Sharonda, if you want to add anything to that.
I don't think I can add anything more than you did. I will say that we have a video, several on our website about registering, about submitting responses to our solicitations that goes into detail about how to complete the process, because there are steps involved and we don't ask for a lot of information in BidNet. We actually are only asking for you to upload your documents. However, there are 2 additional steps that you have to do. So when she says give yourself plenty of time, I always advocate in our pre-submissions and pre-bid meetings to do it early, do it a day early. You can always withdraw it if you have an error or if there's an update that needs to happen, but give yourself enough time to reach out to BidNet. We always have our solicitations closing within the business hours of BidNet, so they are responsive. They have several people there to answer questions, but make sure you reach out to them for technical assistance because it's not our system. We can't fix it, but just, get in the habit of doing that. And then of course, submitting early.
And we have another question. We submitted an RFP 2 months and 2 months ago, and awardee has not been announced. How long does it usually take?
So a tool for that is on our website. Let's go back to home. Let's just go to home. If you look and see this vendor resources tab and click there and scroll down, and you see right here, solicitation process maps, IFB workflow and RFB workflow. You can click RFB workflow and you can get a very global understanding of what happens throughout all of the different steps of that process. We have estimated timeframes for each of those pieces. However, I will say there are a lot of factors that come into this. If everything goes smooth and, we had the solicitation exactly right, and we had people submit their proposals exactly right, and we were able to get through the QSC could get through their reviews and do the interviews, and it's all smooth, then, you could pretty much see that it will hit the timeline that's estimated, which I think for RFPs right now is around between 6 and 9 months, depending upon the extensive, what the scope is, and also how many responses the departments receive. So 2 months, there's a lot of different things that can come into play. Once the RFP closes, what happens in our office, and like I said, you can reference the workflow, but ultimately we just take the package, we make sure that we get all the information, that everything's there, and then the department takes the responsibility for the QSC part of it. So it's a matter of the department working through that process, evaluating the proposals. Maybe there's 2 different steps. Maybe there's not only the written proposals, they do that evaluation, and then based on the scoring, there may be another step of interviews, and then they'll do that evaluation. And then there's a lot of steps that could be there. So don't be discouraged, because there may be a reason for it. However, ultimately, if you've submitted something, like I said, it could still be being evaluated by the department. There may be issues that came up during evaluations that the departments didn't realize, people got hung up on. Maybe the proposals they received, they realized, wow, this isn't, what we were expecting. Maybe we didn't make something clear, and they have to go and reevaluate how they move forward. There are all sorts of different things that could come up. But yeah, I mean, the best thing I can do for you to get a very global understanding of this is look at these workflow charts, so you can understand, there's the departments, there's the Office of Procurement, but there's 2 parts of Office of Procurement. It's the operations side of processing things, and then there's also the DBRC side for all the socioeconomic programs and the requirements that come with that. So there are a lot of people that have their hands on this. RFPs are obviously longer because there's an evaluation process to them. And, like I said, you could probably expect it typically 6 to 9 months, probably closer to the 8 to 9 months. But I do want to say that, and I think I mentioned it earlier, we're finally at full capacity on our operations side. There were many, many years that we were significantly hurting when it came to actual staffing to process all of this. So we are fully staffed now, and things are moving faster. One example I was going to show y'all as another tool is it's on our homepage. It's on the solicitation and contracts page. You'll see this solicitation tracker in multiple different spots. So if you put in a solicitation, or if you put in a proposal for solicitation and you're not sure where it's at, then you can go and say, all right, I know it was solicitation 1154637. All right, what do we have? And it's working. Promise. All right, so this is the solicitation tracker that you can go to and say, oh, okay, it was issued then, it closed then, the proposed awardee was posted. Right now, I would assume that if you typed in your solicitation number, then it would still be at step 2. It would show the response due date, but the department may not be at the point of posting award yet. But you can always go and check this. I like this one because when I say we're actually getting to a point where we are moving faster, this is an awesome example. The solicitation was issued on March 8th. Now, there's a lot that goes on before the solicitation issuance, but it was issued on March 8th, and we're right now in the process of getting it executed. So that's, we're going to probably hit about a month and a half to close out that process, that at least from the side that the vendors see. So things are working a lot faster. Again, I mean, it kind of depends on the way the RFP was set up, how many evaluations there are, what the evaluation expectations are, what the scope of it was. If it's, an enterprise-wide thing, obviously that's a very extensive review. If it's something smaller, but they get 50 proposals, then that's an extensive review simply based on volume. But I can't say that I know the specific to the solicitation you're referring to, but you can use the different tools on our website to try to track that down.
Okay. I don't see any more questions in the chat box. We have about 4 minutes left. I just wanted to show everyone where you can find the recording to today's open house. Melissa, do you mind going to the home page, please?
Sure.
And then in the calendar of events section, click on view outreach events. And so it'll be here. And we will also post it on our YouTube channel. And we also have a video page on our website, and we'll post a video there as well. So if you go to the home page, yeah, right there, watch more videos. So all of our videos are there. So we have about 3 minutes left. Are there any more questions for Melissa?
I have one question. It was just a follow-up. You all said that get it in early, try a day early. But if you needed to retract something or add something to the document, you said that we can withdraw our bid. That does that apply to all bids when we submit them? Because I like to get them in early.
Okay, I'll take it. Okay, yeah, so you can, there is an option in BidNet for any solicitation that you've submitted a response to. There's an option to withdraw your proposal or bid. And what it'll do, it'll take it back to an entry status where you obviously haven't submitted it, to allow you to make changes and make any kind of edits. And you can then resubmit, provided that you do it within the time or before the due date, so that before the date and time. So if you retract it at 10:59 and it closes at 11 o'clock, you're probably not going to make the time, that the cutoff. But if you give yourself plenty of time, you should be able to withdraw it. It's a very easy process. You're just clicking a button and then entering your username and password, and it just takes it back to the first entry status, and you can make your changes as necessary.
Great, thank you.
And we just have one last question. Who do we contact regarding RFP debrief?
I believe if you, oh, Carrie, you came off of mute. Were you about to say something? No, okay. I believe if you reach out to your, I think if you just note to the department that you're interested in a debrief, because ultimately the department would be the one that holds that with you, since our office doesn't know exactly, like, we can read the evaluation criteria, but we're not subject matter experts. So let the department know that you're interested in that, and they can walk you through that. Just please understand, they can only walk you through your submission. It's not going to be a discussion about yours compared to everyone else. Like, this is why they got it, but you didn't. It's just going to be, well, when we looked at it, these were the things that, weren't explained well, or didn't respond to what we were asking for. I don't know exactly what how they would address the specifics of your solicitation, but I just wanted to make sure it's understood. They would only discuss yours.
And more details about debriefing, I put a link in the chat for our entire debriefing process that gives you more guidance on how to move forward with that.
Okay, it is 11 o'clock. I want to thank everyone for joining us. I want to thank Melissa for providing a presentation today. Just a reminder, our next event is on Tuesday, May 9th, our Meet the Primes event in downtown Silver Spring. We will also have our online open house event on the third Wednesday of every month. And our next open house is going to be on May 17th. So please join us again. Thank you for joining us today. Have a great day.